And welcome back one and all. I've decided to do a fourth video for today. So, where we left last time, we solved the bars problem, Fifth Eye Tavern. There's two quests there. We had to find an adversary, and we also had to recruit some people for the Endless Battle. We did both, which was pretty awesome of us, I think. We are going to go... We went the wrong way. I am silly. Sorry. We're going to go back this way. We're going to go to the underbelly and talk to some people down there, because we're going to go try and find the assassin. We need to talk to her about the murders as well as the main storyline campaign thing that's going on. So the underbelly is not there. Not there. What is there? We went too far. Stop, stop. Everyone stop. You're going in this door.
Yes.
I'd totally live in the underbelly. It looks like a neat place. It looks like it'd be always warm. And when you live in Canada and it's always cold, warm, so good. When I was in the Philippines, I was wearing a t-shirt and shorts. And then when I got back to Canada, it was negative 17 degrees Celsius. And it was cold. I was really unhappy. Psychus, that's what they're called. For some reason I think it was called schists, and I was like, ah, this doesn't sound right. But I didn't want to double guess myself, second guess myself. Take me someplace under the city. I'm looking for a way into a place called the Cave of Last Words. It's close to surface, at top of city. Took another human there once. Check travel where Eggfriend want, we go. It's time to do some main storylining.
Who are you?
This woman's skin is white, the color of alabaster or fresh ivory. Flat black eyes surrounded by sharply pointed features stare coldly at you. She wears jet black hair cut straight at the shoulders. Her clothes are functional and drab. Her cloak is fastened by a necklace of 5 canisters, each of a different shape. She turns the black device over and over in her hands.
Where did you come from? How did you know where to find me?
Her startled expression becomes a dark glower. A keen blade flickers through her fingers. You're sure it wasn't there a moment ago? He mutters, I think she and Calistage would get along just fine. I followed your trail. Skiss, I thought I'd covered it. I thought I'd covered my tracks. Thought, fine. You wanted to find me, you found me. More's the pity, so now it's time to talk. Wait, are you asking the questions here, or am I? She glances at your tattoo. How new are you? What were the circumstances of your birth? When did you happen? I was born recently, as my body fell from an exploding moon. Huh, that bastard of a creator always finds a way to abandon us at the worst possible moment. Have you heard the stories of Tuck or Inifir yet? You should. What of them? She points her chin at your companions. If you think you can overpower me with mortals, you're mistaken. Sounds just like your father. What'd you say? You're trespassing in my home, you know. Coming with a cast-off makes you more suspicious, not the other way around. Trust me, we mean no harm. I don't trust you, that's the problem. But fine. She flicks her hand and the knife disappears. Disemboweling you would be just a waste of my time anyway. She turns back to her workbench and picks up the device again. Then she spits on the floor and scuffs it with her boot, all nervous energy. So what do you want from me? I'm investigating some murders in the underbelly. Someone said they thought it was your work.
Making a note.
I've killed lots of people. Lots. In the underbelly, though? I don't think so. Do you want someone killed? She pauses. No, wait, I could tell you, but my mind won't let me. I don't remember. If I were whole again... I heard you might know who can repair a device I found in the reef, something called a resonance chamber. A resonance? A glint of understanding shines in her eyes. Ah, yes, of course you would have hit it there. A crooked grin plays about the corner of her mouth and then vanishes. I know who can help you. Or did. She shakes her head. It slips away. My mind has holes in it. One of our brothers took a rusty scalpel to my thoughts. My memories, I can't. She trails off. She catches hold of the table and seems to anchor her. Her eyes harden. No, you must do something for me. She caresses the black and jagged device, knobbed and protruding with antenna. A sigil reminiscent of your tattoo is emblazoned on it. This is Tasha's merecaster. I want you to enter his mirror and find out what you can about the Jacques. I'm convinced that's a key. It's a merecaster. Huh, am I really the first one to say that word to you? Oh, you're in for a surprise, dear brother. Every cast-off has one, just like every cast-off has this. She taps the tattoo on your head. No one knows what they're for. Adirus used to think that they were a byproduct of the transfer process, just like us. She seems lost in thought for the moment. Then she shakes her head. Wherever they come from, they can be used like a kind of temporal viewer. You relive an event in the life of the cast-off whose merecaster it is. That event is called a mirror. Why can't you go in? Don't you think I've tried? She snarls with sudden rage, her knife a handspan from your neck. Do you think I would waste my time with a newborn, a thief who steals into my home? If there were any chance I could do this myself? Her shoulders heave up and down with each angry breath. I try, but my mind fills with static, like I'm talking to a Murden, only it slashes and stabs and burns me and... She blinks then confused. Why am I angry? Did you? She straightens, flipping the knife back into her cloak. No, it'll be alright. I just need to find the damn jack, and I'll tell you whatever you need to know. How do I enter it? An almost palpable hunger fills her eyes, a yearning. Hold the merecaster. You'll feel the tug immediately. Don't resist. Empty your mind and let the tides pull you into the merecaster. She collects herself. Then just watch him. Watch for the jack. When you see what he's done with it, pull your mind away from Tasha's and tell me what you saw. Oh, and don't try to change anything. Why shouldn't I try and change anything? Nothing serious, she says as though, and to an overly concerned child. She laughs suddenly. It's not like you can change the past, but I need you to learn a specific piece of information. If you change something, you might go the wrong way. What is a jack? You don't know? I thought it was a common instrument. No, it might not be so much anymore. One of the curses of a long life. She laughs raggedly. Fashions come and go before you even know they exist. Probably easier just to let them go or make new ones of your own, like some of the other cast-offs. Sorry, no, not sorry. You should know this. You should know about things. History, that's what life is. Knowing and doing. Matkina, you need to focus. Tell him what he needs. She breathes deeply. A jack is an ancient woodwind, and this one was kept in a sealed cave behind massive doors from a prior world. It had powers, but I can't remember what those powers were. Okay, I'll go in. She plucks Tasha's merecaster from the table, then looks at you, it, and back at the device. She licks her lips as if weighing her options, and then before she can hesitate anymore, she slaps it into your hands. It's surprisingly heavy. Do it, she says, her voice heavy. Find the jack and bring me my answers. You focus on the device and you feel something tugging on your mind. And I'm off. Ah, it's very bright. I wasn't anticipating that. Everything is wrong. Tasha's body, yours now, clings like a wet cloak. The world is too bright for nighttime. Everything is too clear. Distances too close, edges too sharp. Memories like blood flies buzz around your head, whizzing away before you can catch them. Hard-ridden Anin heave their flanks and huff behind you. Like you, they've gone too long without rest, and there's Matkina, a much newer Matkina, as drawn by a pandering portraitist. Portraitist? Too soft, too fresh, too pretty, all wrong. On the waist you see the light of campfires, and in the humble village before you, a bigger, brighter fire burns. It's a pyre. Inside, a body that's too large burns too slowly. Greasy coils of smoke rise into the night. The villagers circle the bonfire, waiting and shaking. The headman's rough voice continues the ritual. From exile you are released. Among the mourners, some echo, you are released. He throws a handful of powder into the fire, metal salts perhaps, and a spray of shining embers rises into the night, mostly gold, some green, some purple. From wrath you are released, they echo him. As the embers float out towards the plains and fade among the stars and campfires, you hear Matkina whisper, reverently, you are released. I'm gonna try and see what the... okay, good, it's free for us. You squint your unnatural eyes and focus until the pyre, the village, and everything else fades away. At last the blurry campfires resolve into something crisper, and you see the faint shadows of men around them, men in long coats and broad hats, painstakingly cleaning their jazales and daggers. There are perhaps 100 of them. Matkina sees you staring and grunts, Sand Knights. From her tone it's obvious that they're no friends of hers or yours. I'm gonna try to remember who I am and why I'm here. The memories try and buzz away, but you are too quick for them. You seize them and squeeze. This body is you. Tash. You already knew that, but now you know yourself as you didn't before. The body fits better. You're a cast-off, and when you call on the tides, you can destroy memories. You're a soldier of sorts, in the service of the militia, under the command of Paj Reckon. You are a scout, Matkina's spotter. The two of you are not warriors. You're specialists. You're killers. But you're not here to kill. You're here to promise something to the villagers, and to get an object, a flute of some sort, the Jacques. As for why, that memory and others remain beyond your reach. Wait till the ritual is finished. As the body burns and the mourners chant, you wait in the shadows at the edge of the village. At last, the corpse is consumed and the headman gives a final cry. To the distant Drac you are released. The villagers echo him, then drift away, leaving him beside the smoldering pyre. Matkina, with a hiss and gesture, leads you over. He sniffs the air at the sound of your approach, and with a broad smile calls out, Kina! His eyes are large, milky marbles. He puts a hand on her shoulders. You return in unpleasant times. She touches his cheek. I return because the times are unpleasant, Neng. Without another word, the three of you leave from the fire and enter Neng's dark hut. Neng's home is humble and small, hardly furnished and wholly undecorated. On entering, he lowers his weary bulk onto a hassock and gestures towards small cushions for you and Matkina, then begins without preamble. They hung him from a tree, old Gareb, took their daggers to him, called it pruning. Blind to others' expressions, he has become oblivious to his own, and he wears his pain and anger nakedly. With a grunt he continues. They sent him home by skimmer, along with the compact they made to the plains people. He waves at the crumpled sheet of paper on the floor. Tick read it to me. They promised to put an end to our menace, Kina. He shakes his head. Why? We always paid the blood price for whatever harm we'd done. You know that. They know that. Yes, Makina says softly, but the Sad Knights won't take shins. You know that. The militia here is here to help. Ning. You are who we stand for. The small, the threatened, the hunted. That is who we are too. She takes his hand. Come away. If you tell the knights you're going, they won't force a fight. They have bigger battles ahead of them. Believe me. This is our place, Kina. Pajra Ken will give you a home. Trust her. You don't need to trust Pajra Ken. Just trust Kina. Ning cocks his white head. Why would I doubt her? He smiles. There was a plains child, a beautiful boy, wandered too far into the waste and was gone. We all gave up on him, but Kina? He puts his hand on her shoulder. She left that night with a knife and a lamp and a rope. Just said, I'll bring him back. Hardly spoke back then, Arkina. She sighs, made things easier. Weeks later she came back, the boy riding her shoulders, a string of Shirog heads dragging behind her. He fixes his blind eyes upon you. When she speaks, I trust. But even if Pajra Ken sets lands aside for us, we can't just leave. It's not so simple. Plains people can't understand. The only time it's too late to start a new life is when you're dead. Give your people a chance to survive. Excuse me. We'll use one thing. Neng nods slowly. You're right, of course, even if you got the manners of a marauder. After a moment, he turns his blind eyes to Matkina, but we can't go without the Jack. The what, Matkina asks? Up the hill, beyond the gate. The cave's been sealed for generations. Inside is the Jack. It's what helps us keep our worst instincts inside. If we leave it song, he trails off, gesturing to the pyre outside. After a pause, he leans in, whispers in Matkina's ear. Now, he says, you alone of the plains people know how to open the gate. 1 sec, I'm just going to pause. I need to grab a drink. You work your way up a terrace hillside, leaving Neng to make his case to his people. In the distance, you see that the Sand Knights are on the move, riding hard towards the Colm village. Neng will need to make his case to them, too. When you arrive at the cave and its huge ancient gateway, Matkina shakes her head. For years I wondered about this, she says. The hill people tell of a fable that the first men and women came out of here. They said the gate would only open when it's time for the people to disappear. She shrugs. One way to keep kids from poking around and disturbing the Jack, I guess. Something she said stirs your mind and your memories jingle like a wind chime. Let's try and dredge up the memory that is troubling us. We have a 100% chance, with no use of intellect. At once, a glaring light shines over your mission, as painful as it is revealing. You are not here to help Pajra Ken save Colm village. You are here to help Paj destroy it. She knew the village's secret, knew about the Jack. Most importantly, she knew the Sand Knights would come, knew about their compact. The plan isn't to take the villagers out of the Knights' way. In fact, it depends on causing the very battle Matkina promised would be averted. When the Knights arrive, Paj will destroy the Jack, forcing the hill people into their feral state, unleashing them upon the Knights, weakening one of the malicious forces, and Paj is coming in person to see that it all goes right. I'm going to gesture towards the gate. After you. Matkina shrugs and quickly disarms the ancient device locks. The dozen ancient locks that have long kept the cavern sealed. With a gasp, the gate opens. Without waiting, she steps through, and you follow. What you find is no cave tunnel. In fact, there's no stone at all. Rather, there's a smooth hallway made of greenish, phosphorescent ceramic. Under its glow, you and Matkina take on the look of the unburied dead. There seem to be no side passages, no chambers, merely a single path that curls ever inward, like you are in the shell of some great nautilus. From time to time, the walls are adorned with lifeless ciphers, arcane charts, even scorch marks from a struggle. They tell no tale for you to hear. At last, you reach the tunnel's end, and there, on a pedestal before you, is what must be the Jack. A kind of reed flute that plays an endless, formless song, at once almost too faint to hear and too haunting to bear. Whether the music is caused by the breeze blowing through the tunnel or by the Jack itself is impossible to determine. The ceramic pedestal beneath it, alone of all the devices in the cave, still pulses with living energy. That energy causes the Jack to float a fraction of an inch in the air. It doesn't rest on the pedestal so much as hang above it. So, says Matkina, here it is. What do you think this place is? Matkina shrugs. Could be anything. You're the one who always says a person will go crazy trying to understand the world. But from the way she holds a little breath as she ends the sentence, it's clear that she can't stop there. Crazy or not, she wants a meaning to it. I think the hill people must have come from here, she says, or maybe come through here. She shrugs again. But we're not here to find answers, we're here to get that, she points to the Jack. Let's examine the pedestal. Well, the Jack and the wistful wind-blown notes is what you came for. It is the pedestal that draws your attention first. Hidden within, some great secret mechanism holds the Jack aloft, untouched and motionless. As you ponder its workings, you notice that something else, A trap nestled beneath the jack is a serrated ring, and tiny ugly bolts of energy leap from tooth to tooth, ready to surge if the field is disrupted. Let's disarm the trap. The pedestal's machinery is alien and wholly novel to you, but that is true of nearly every cipher and artifact in the Ninth World. The key is to stop grasping for the familiar and stop seeking in underlying logic and simply accept the thing before you on its own terms. With a hard eye and delicate touch, you tame the device and disarm its trap. The jack stops floating and bangs twice, first against the metal pedestal, then against the ceramic floor. Makina shakes her head in mock disgust and picks it up. "We've got what we wanted," she says, and gestures back down the way you came. "Let's go." They're waiting for you at the gate, a woman you immediately know to be Paj Raken and her bodyguard, a half-dozen tattooed cast-offs with drab armor, mismatched weapons, and the languid readiness of predators. Past them, in the village below, you see Sand Knights have arrived and are meeting with Neng and the villagers. Without warning, one of the bodyguards lowers his weapon at Makina and fires, but she's already moving and takes a glancing blow. A knife is in her hand, as another glaive aims a new device. Before Makina can fling her blade, she's frozen, trapped in shimmering energy. Paj herself aims a tiny cipher at the jack. The others watch, paying you little mind. "What are you doing?" As you try and speak, Paj raises her empty hand, and such is the force of her will that you fall silent. Without pausing, she activates the cipher she's holding in her other hand. A thin beam shoots forward. The jack simply disintegrates. In the village, chaos explodes. Where once Neng and his hill people stood, there is now a writhing mass of tentacled things which fall upon the Sand Knights. Caught off guard, a dozen knights die instantly. Others open fire. Inside the energy field, Makina trembles with rage, her burning eyes flickering between you and Paj. Paj says, "This is an unfair way to reward friends, but one must secure victory and make amends later." She points to the slaughter below. "Those Sand Knights are irreplaceable. With a single stroke, we shifted the balance of power in the Vrixulian waste and loosened our enemy's iron grip from 24 villages. You've served the militia well." "What have you done?" Paj gives you an incredulous look, glances at Makina, then shakes her head. "You know exactly what I've done and why I've done it, Tosh. There's no need to pretend otherwise." She looks again at Makina, who is screaming silently inside of her bubble. Even Makina knows why. Paj approaches the energy field and holds out a hand as if to touch Makina. "Love is a wild beast that must be tamed, Makina, tamed and trained to serve. Let it buck if it must, but in the end you must break it before you are thrown." "Let Makina go." "Of course," Paj answers, "as we planned, but first wipe her mind, then we release her, and we see whether she finds her way home to us, where she belongs. That should be within your power, within Tasha's power anyways. When the tides surge through, you can destroy memories the same way you use the tides to escape the sorrow in your mind. But for all you become accustomed to wearing his body, you feel no special attunement to the tides, no sense of power over others' memories. In fact, within this mirror, you could hardly feel the tides at all." I'll try and wipe her memories. "You have no idea how to wield the tides as Tash would. It is not a power that resides in his body, which you've stolen, but his essence, which you've shunted aside. You can only try and achieve the same results by guesswork. You focus your mind and gaze upon Makina, willing a way to wipe her memories clean. Makina meets your stare, and her eyes have a clarity, half-vacancy that you've seen, that Tasha's seen before she kills. She's past anger now, and come to cold revenge. But whatever wishes lie beyond your gaze, nothing happens. You cannot use Tidal Surge through the merecaster. You cannot wipe her memories." Paj looks at you impatiently. "This is not the time for dallying or playing games, Tash. We need to leave before the Sand Knights finish with the villagers and turn their guns on us." "I'll do it." Let's make sure that's 100. Though you're not entirely sure how Tash has wielded the tides in the past, any bluff will need Matkina's help to work. You approach her and stand so that your faces would almost touch, but for the energy field between you. You close your eyes and contort your face with unexerted effort. Whether your pantomime is convincing or Paj simply cannot contemplate such a bold ruse, it seems your trick is working. I'm going to whisper her to play along. Whether she reads your lips or intuits your intent, Makina does her part. First she goes rigid, then her face becomes a rictus of agony, and then she slumps as if drugged against the energy field. It bulges slightly to hold her upright. "Good," says Paj. "Leave her. We'll see if our lost Tremulin returns to the flock." She turns to the battle in the village below. Neither side has the upper hand, and between the monstrous hill people and the cornered knights, no quarter is given, and no effort is made to avoid collateral damage. It is carnage, no more, no less. "It's time to go home," Paj says. "The airship awaits." She leads her bodyguards away, plainly expecting you to follow. Is there any way for some of the villagers in the airship? Is there any room for some of the villagers in the airship? To save a few would prove we weren't liars. Paj gives a soft sigh. "We are liars, Tosh, and the ship isn't some Argosy to carry off refugees. She pauses, sighs again. The lives you'd save, they don't matter. Colm village is dead. It can't be saved. It couldn't be saved. The terratomorphs are dead. They couldn't be saved either. The other villagers here are no different than the 10,000 others scattered across the Vrixulian waste. They will all die one way or another, and we can't save them. The most we can do is make use of their deaths so they have some meaning. She turns to go, apparently considering the matter closed. I have unfinished business here. Paja's patience is clearly wearing thin. There will not be another invitation to return, Tosh. Come with us. And you are a soldier of the militia, a servant of the greater good. Stay behind and you are nothing but a killer. She doesn't wait for an answer and clearly has no interest in words. As she continues towards the waiting cloaked airship, the unspoken message is clear. It's time to make your choice. We will follow. You stand with Paj at the prow of her airship, looking down at the convulsing village. The sad knights, 30 or more still standing, finally have the upper hand. They move into a defensive square, hurling burning brands onto any of the buildings still standing and unleashing fusillades on whatever emerges. Only a few of the monstrous hill people still live, skulking in the smoke among the rubble. You can see them from your vantage. Perhaps they'll kill more sand knights before the battle's done. But whatever the final tally, it's clear that the Colm village is gone. On the hill, trapped for now in the energy field, is Metkina, her mind and life saved, her will for revenge unabated. Paja's face is stoic as she looks down from the ship. Perhaps without your preternatural eyes, she can avoid seeing the individuals ground up by her gambit, and can see only the strategic point and the numbers it represents in her grand strategy. Or perhaps she has simply learned to set an example to her subordinates in the militia. She sees you staring and gives you a small smile, a generous one, if it's real, devoid of irony or cruelty. I am proud of you, she says, and then she walks away to her cabin to plan some new battle. As she does, Tasha's body slips away. His mind lets go of your own, and you are falling through space once more, falling homeward. As your consciousness rises from the shadow of the mirror, something clicks in your mind. Something has changed deep inside of you, but what? Metkina stares at you, the shock painfully obvious on your face. What did you do? I remember Tash cutting me. I see the holes in my mind. I remember him forcing me to the ground, tearing up my history with his tides. But I have other memories now. They're real. Tash didn't do it. He could have, but he didn't. He saved me, boarded the vessel, and didn't touch me, didn't violate me with his mind. But I remember him touching me. She holds her head in her hands, shaking, her voice becoming thick. The two strands of memory. This is pulling me apart. She looks at you, tears streaming down her cheeks. No, it's pulling me back together. I remember now. That hole it's almost gone. You changed reality. You changed it. She stands drying her eyes with her sleeves. I don't know if you meant to do that, but you've done more than your part of the deal. You asked me about the resonance chamber? I know it. Mazov's the guy you want. He can fix anything. He might even have helped design the chamber you're talking about. Your best bet is to look for him in the cast-off sanctuary, Maya Levest. Great, where's that? Word of caution. They won't believe you in Maya Levest. They'll treat you like they treat every new cast-off, as a pawn in their games with each other. Look out for that. She walks to her table and rolls the map of the Sages Protectorate. You're not going to find it by walking there. The entrance is a secret known only to our kind. Here. She points to a spot on the map many kilometers to the northeast of Sages Cliffs, the Valley of Dead Heroes. There's a hidden portal in the necropolis. Also, memorize this. She writes down the numbers. I'm going to write them down too, just in case. 3, 4, 3, 1. I'm going to write tides. Okay. On a slip of paper and holds it in front of you for several seconds, then crumples it in her hand. It's a code. It'll make sense when you get to the necropolis. You'll need an airship to get to the valley. The ladder over there leads up to the Caravanserai. You should be able to hire a ship without too much difficulty. I have other questions. What do you want to know? The murders. Someone thought it was your work. I haven't killed anyone in the underbelly for years. There's no money in it. No fear. She crosses her arm. I got a style, a reputation to maintain. But if you found any clues at the scene, let me know. I admit I'm curious who would do a job in that hole. I did find a clue in the underbelly murderers, a circle containing a triangle bearing a bleeding eye, with another triangle breaking the circle from the right.
Making a note.
She shudders. Children of the Endless Gate, a splinter sect of the Dendra Uhura, both of them gifts to the world from our beloved siblings. The Dendra are mostly harmless, disgusting as they are, worthless as their creator is. They have a chapel in the underbelly. Go talk to them. Tell me about Malavast again. A sanctuary for our kind, supposedly from the sorrow, but more realistically is a sanctuary from the endless fighting. Adiris, she's like the mother of the place, enforces a strict non-violence policy there. What's the story with you and the other cast-offs? She gives you a long, slow look. You were in the mirror, you saw what happened. I wanted to make a difference, and they pissed on my hopes. After that debacle, I killed Tash, and fell out with the rest of them. The conflict between the First and the Changing God swallows all of our siblings one way or another. I didn't want that. I wanted to make my own way. They weren't pleased, and here I am. No worse for the lack of company. Who's the first? The first cast-off? She was, or claimed to be. She's dead now. She said she'd fight for all of us. They say she was the one who founded merecaster for our sakes. Most of our siblings remember her as a hero, she spits in the corner. Most of them never actually knew her. She was driven, I'll give her that. Even with her decaying body with all of its hurts and wounds, she found masks to cover herself and the strength not to hurt. And she kept plowing on. What can you tell me about the changing god? Brilliant, charming, and ruthlessly self-centered. More blood on his hand than I'll ever have. Legend says he wiped out the Tabat, a nearly complete genocide. He left one alive as an object lesson, one of the generals enslaved in the city to teach his enemies not to cross him. We talked to him already. How many cast-offs are there? She shrugs. Hundreds? Who knows? Supposedly the changing god went to other worlds, bent time and space, slipped through dimensions, and he always had to spare bodies with him. There could be thousands, millions for all I know. What's this place all about? This is the Cave of Last Words. It was a thieves' hole until the tunnel leading in collapsed 500-600 years ago. It was where the scum of the city would slip away from the city guard. Before there were levies, before the slave families, the truly desperate lawbreakers fled here when they had no other options. That's the suicide tunnel. She points. The words on the cave walls. Those are the final words of the people who with nothing left to lose, etched in the bedrock of the city, burned in and burned out by the hopeless. A fitting metaphor. She looks at you appraisingly. If you question the worth of your life, these terminal thoughts are instructive. For a long time they helped me hang on. And there's a ledge at the end of the tunnel, just in case those words are inspirational. Her crooked grin resurfaces. The view is also quite nice. Would you travel with me? Too many with you already. Don't want to join in the menagerie. Maybe you have to drop them off. I would like her with me. She's an awesome assassin. Who would we get rid of, though? Algern?
Don't push me.
Algern. Let's get rid of Algern for now. Best parts. The irony in his voice is betrayed by the hurt in his eyes. But fine, if you need me again, I'll be in my workshop in the underbelly. Okay, bye. I want Makina. Cool assassin character, who's also a cast-off, could be very, very useful. Travel with me. She looks down at the table, then sorts through a couple sheets of paper. Nothing here that requires my immediate attention, I suppose. Fine. Thank you. Let's roll.
All right.
Let's take a look at her. She is... The hole in the corner is large, about 2 meters across. It was clearly carved, but not by a human. It leads into a dark tunnel. You know that it was dug by the Psyche, at least the underbelly. I want to remain here. I didn't mean to hit the button. Okay, she is a Numenera analyzer. Wait, that's wrong. There we go. She's trained without armor. She has a merecaster wound. She's hidden. She gains a bunch of ability stuff. She's a cast-off as well. She's a trained infiltrator. She has warp dash, which is an ability. Infused weapon. Flex skill. She's good at perception. Decent at quick fingers. Really good at stealth. Good with light weapons. She's bad at persuasion. Bad with initiative. And bad with heavy weapons. She's using a sonic blade, which is actually kind of decent. And she's very, very fast. She's a lot of speed. I don't know if she's better or worse than Algern. We'll try her out.
Yes.
Whatever. We're going to level up our character. So we gave ourselves edge last time. Let's go with ability or skill. If I choose ability, this infused weapon, which we haven't even used yet. Let's go with skill. He can learn everything. What's concentration? Oh, right, it gets rid of the bonded artifacts and negatives, which is nice. Deception, perhaps? We don't need healing. We have someone that does healing. Also, my dog is now barking. Which is about time to start end our radio anyways, so that's fine. Let's go with lore... mystical? Yeah, let's go with lore mystical. Anyone else gain a level? Nope, nope, nope. Okay, there's some things to loot here. There is a father teller and some shins, of course. And that's almost it. There's another thing we can loot there. It has a fleetfoot moss and some more shins. A tunnel leading in this direction, but the ceiling's collapsed.
I'm ready.
That's the big tunnel.
Action! Here I come!
Let's go take a look down here. The final words of countless men and women are scrawled on the stone wall. Some apologize to loved ones, while others rage against an injustice or slight. A few
Let's go.
left only their names. Let's go take a look outside. It leads us to the caravanserai. Oh hey, this is the place we sort of wanted to be.
I'm going.
I'm gonna crawl up to here. A sheer cliff rises above the ledge. Its surface is rough and jagged. There are enough handholds that it looks climbable, but it wouldn't be easy. 85% chance, I'll take it. The cliff face is deceptive. Holes that look like they would crumble in your hands stay firm, while solid-looking protrusions crumble like they were made of sand. With careful planning, though, you make it all the way to the top. Oh my god, my dog is barking like a crazy person. Again. A welcome blast of wind caresses your face at the cliff top. Your companions follow the path you blaze for them. Let's interact with this thing. Most of the cliff top... Hang on one sec, I'm gonna take care of the puppy. Okay, let's finish this thing off. Most of the cliff top is obscured by a dome of energy. When you get too close to it, the air hums and your hand stares on end. Let's try and see what's inside. The air sizzles as you get closer, popping across your skin like invisible jumping beetles. When you're within arm's reach, a control interface appears in the air in front of you. There's glowing circles with strange symbols floating at the edges and a vertical bar next to it. When you step back, the interface disappears. Whatever energy forms this dome is completely opaque. You can't see anything through it. Oddly, though, you can see the shadows of the cliffs and birds on the other side. Let us study the interface. The circle is a likely place to put one's hand or face. Probably the former, since the heat from the dome might burn your face. Presumably, someone with the proper authority could open the dome by using the holographic bar on the side as a kind of latch. The symbols around the circle are unfamiliar, suggesting that this installation is very old, perhaps predating the truth. Whoever created this dome then wanted to keep what it was inside a secret from anyone except those whom he or she had given access. Let's try and use the interface. As soon as you place your hand in the circle, the symbols light up and spin rapidly. Apparently, you have the authority to enter. You slide your hand up the bar on the other side, and the interface disappears. The air cools immediately, and the dome fades until it's gone entirely. Fancy.
Sure.
There are several things. Let's loot the thing first. There is a war mask, and eyes of the finite, and some shits.
What's going on?
Not Rin.
All right.
I want to see this thing. Actually, let's do this thing first. The machine hums softly. An orange glow appears beneath its dark, glossy surface. A large alien symbol dominates the space, with words in a smaller script on the side, but you cannot understand the writing. Even so, it feels like you've seen the writing somewhere before. Let's try and decipher this. 95 is all we can do because we have no intellect points left. After studying the text for several minutes, you begin to see or perhaps simply remember the patterns in the words. In a flash, the purpose of the device comes back to you. This is an omniscope, a device used to view locations from afar. The large alien symbol is actually an inhuman handprint. The longer list next to it is a set of location names, and the shorter list denotes ranges of time. How far back in time the omniscope should look. You discover that you can actually read them all. Let's look at locations. There are 8 locations listed, all of them within or near Sagitt's Cliffs. Selecting one will presumably shift the omniscope to look in that direction. Caravanserai is currently selected. Reef of Fallen Worlds. You touch the name and it glows brighter than the others. Far above you, the omniscope shifts into a new position. Let's go approximate times. 3 numbers representing a rough time frame, perhaps days, months, or years. The numbers are strange, but you are fairly certain you understand their meaning. Selecting one will presumably direct the omniscope to look back in that time frame. The current selection is 1, which you take to mean the present. Distant past. Then you touch the number and it glows brighter than the others. The machine's humming changes in timbre. Sorry. Let's press the handprint. As soon as you place your hand on the surface, the machine reacts. The glowing items on the two lists blink and draw lines to a rectangle, a view screen that wasn't there before. You see the half-sunken buildings and artifacts of the Reef of Fallen Worlds where you crashed into the earth. The image in the view screen changes rapidly, showing the reef over many years. The first thing you notice is the construction of a synth dome. The same dome you crashed into when you fell to the earth. A man with a cast-off tattoo works alongside various automatons. The cast-off is wearing tattered leather robes. An alarming number of wires and tubes protrude from his body. Little else changes until you reach images from many centuries past. Massive war constructs crawl across the reef, firing weapons towards the city above. One of them is struck from a blast from a defensive battery, and it collapses into the crystalline water. As it settles, you recognize its back as the place where you met Koro. There is nothing before that assault upon the city. When you try and look further into the past, the images loop back to the present and start over. Alright, let's try the next one at the same time. Cliff's Edge. Again, dozens of buildings are built into the cliffside. Many of them are hanging precariously over the sea below. The image in the view screen changes rapidly, showing the cliffside over many years. The further back to the past you look, the more buildings there are. They have been falling gradually into the sea over many centuries. Above and below, there are seaward facing batteries, defensive weapons that predate the Ninth World, but they too collapse into the sea as the years pass. Shortly before the distant past ends, the last of them topples from his perch, leaving the city defenseless. Oh, brutal. Alright, we're actually over time, so we're going to end the video here. We'll go through the rest of these in the next video. Maybe there'll be another cool one that we can see, but for now, we're going to leave it at that. Like always, if you have any suggestions or comments, please leave them below. Others, I'll see you guys next time. Take care.